Going on, everyone? Welcome back to the All We Do Is Talk podcast. Before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe. Would mean a lot.
Share.
Yeah, and share with your friends. Everyone wants to know the tidbits we got. We got Nathaniel Moody, my Miss Forrester Science room. Isaiah, how we doing today?
What's up, Eric? Once again, we'll give you the shout out. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Quarter
brother.
century.
Yeah, we can end those. We can end those under the rug. But I appreciate it, boys. Appreciate it a lot. So today we got.
And hey, we take no days off, even on our birthdays.
Grind don't stop. So we got running backs today and tight ends, gentlemen. Which ones do y'all want to start with?
I guess we're going to start with RBs.
Running backs. All right, the exciting one right out of the way. Love it. All right, so each of you got a top 10. We're going to go. You want to go top? Each of you give your top 5, and then we'll compare.
Well, actually, I think we'll go the opposite way with this time.
Okay, so 10.
We'll start at the bottom and work our way up to the top.
All right, brother.
So I'm going to start with my 5 honorable mentions of guys who are just outside of that top 10 range. I've got Kareem Hunt, the infamous Kareem Hunt for his kicking situation, to be taken seriously, though. I got Josh Jacobs. I think he's a little overrated. Still a great player. Bell cow running back. I've got Najee Harris, rookie running back on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Going to be a big impact. I also got Travis Etienne, another rookie, playing a little bit of receiver too. So we'll see where he goes in the NFL. Elite elusiveness and speed from Mr. Etienne. And then lastly, I've got Miles Sanders from the Philadelphia Eagles. Great runner, great speed, can't catch, can't stay healthy, missing a little bit of consistency. And that's really all I've got for guys who are just honorable mention. How you feel about those guys, Moody?
I thought that was a pretty good list. I think Josh Jacobs, is the only guy on your honorable mentions that made my list. So that's probably the one difference we have so far. A couple of my honorable mentions, Kareem Hunt, obviously really good one. He's if he was a starting running back, he'd be a top 10 running back. It's the fact that he splits carries with Nick Chubb is why he's not.
He's just as good as Nick Chubb in a different role. Like their impact wise are like pretty close.
Agreed. I also have Austin Eckler. I think is severely underrated in terms of like his ability as a running back, and he's a very, very high usage guy. I think Christian McCaffrey light, basically, when it comes to Austin Eckler. I like Austin Eckler a lot. But Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, that's the last guy I had. Jonathan Taylor. He when he gets a full season, 17 games worth of touches, I think his numbers are going to be ridiculous, and he's going to be a lock inside the top 10.
Okay.
All right. So
Eric, want to say any opinions on the honorable mentions before we move on to the list?
I mean, yeah, those guys are like Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is probably the best 2 running back in all the league. He complements Nick Chubb well with being more of a receiving back, while Chubb can get down and dirty with the tougher runs.
And Hunt can run up the middle between the tackles still. Like he's still good at that.
Yeah, but he's definitely, when he's in there, he's more likely to be catching the ball than running the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor's an up-and-coming running back, but I agree with Isaiah with the rookies. Like, running back is the position that you can transition the best or the quickest, I guess. And, I think those guys definitely aren't top 10 guys, but
they'll probably be if they hit.
Yeah. So let's move on to 10 through 6. Isaiah, why don't you give us those 5?
So at 10, I have Mr. Aaron Jones from the Green Bay Packers. I think he's a great running back, 2-way running back, great speed, great catching ability. A little bit, doesn't bring that element of power that you need, but his elusivity is elite. At number 9, I have Alvin Kamara. I think he's a little overrated, so he's a little bit lower on my list. Probably the best, behind Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. I'd have him as the 3rd best pass-catching running back. I think he's a better receiver type than he is as a runner. But talk about someone who can make people miss. He makes people miss and makes people look silly. At number 8, I have one of the guys I think is more underrated. I have Mr. Joe Mixon. I think he's like a poor man's Saquon Barkley. Has power, can run, can catch. Excuse me. decent pass protector, injury concerns. At number 7, I have Ezekiel Elliott, tailed off a little bit, but I still think he's still an elite running back in the NFL. He's not as good at making people miss, but still can make people miss. But behind Nick Chubb is probably the best power back in the league. And at number 6, I have Mr. Dalvin Cook, who is probably the best all-around, do-it-all running back in the league. He's got some injury concerns, but as you look down this list, all running backs have injury concerns. So I took injuries out of it, and I just took the guys that I would take in a set order that I want on my team. And I think Dalvin Cook is elite catching, elite pass protector, good pass protection. Yeah, good pass protector. Also good inside of tackle, but is really good in that outside zone scheme. He's not like fast 40 type of running back, but he's fast enough to be in the NFL, runs by people all the time.
His game speed is fast.
Yeah. Underrated at breaking tackles, because I remember when the Giants played the Vikings a couple years ago, he was breaking tackles. And we had a terrible defense, but still, the NFL breaking tackles. Yeah. But that'll be my 10 through 6.
I mean, I'm a little surprised at some of the this is going to be interesting because a lot of the names in your 6 through 10 were in my 1 through 5. So we're definitely going to have some good hearted disagreement when it comes to that. I definitely understand what you're saying about Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon is definitely extremely underrated and deserves to be on this list. I just wish he stayed healthy more often. But yeah, overall, I like the list a lot. Just from what you said about Dalvin Cook, you would think he'd be higher, just based off what you said about Dalvin Cook.
Exactly. I was about to say, like, oh, yeah, he's the best probably overall back, can do it all. And I'm like, why is he number 6 for you then?
I just think there's a couple guys that do Dalvin Cook better. And I also think there's a couple power backs coming up that are just they're the cream of the crop power backs.
So you think because he doesn't do one thing like extremely special, that's what brings him down?
Yeah, all these guys carry their offenses when they're healthy. So like it's really splitting hairs, but I'm just saying Dalvin Cook could do it all.
Just so we know, there is a correct answer to who is number 1 in the league. Just so
I don't think there's going to be a debate for that, but we'll save it for when we get there.
But yeah, I think we'll debate my 1 through 5 a lot, but I think my number 1 is the same.
I was definitely surprised with some of the names you had in the 10 through 6. All right, Moody, what do you say? Give us your 10 through 6.
All right, at number 10, I got Joe Mixon. Like I said before, I liked what Isaiah said about him being the poor man Saquon Barkley. He's got the total package when it comes to natural talent, size, speed, change of direction. Like Joe Mixon is one of a kind when it comes to his overall skill set. But like Isaiah said, and like it's going to be common for this list because it's just the nature of the running back position. The injuries. If he can stay healthy, he would easily be in the top 5. But since he's consistently on the injured list, he's got to drop down a little bit because we just haven't seen enough body of work from him. At number 9, I have Josh Jacobs. I like Josh Jacobs a lot. I think he's a dynamic thumper type of running back. He's got thumper mentality, but he's got elusiveness and speed that isn't always present in guys who have the thumper mentality, which I think gives him the perfect mental makeup and physical makeup to be one of the great running backs in this league. I hate that the Vegas Raiders basically dismantled their entire offensive line. I think it's going to make it a lot harder on him overall. But he was the guy coming out of Alabama who barely got any touches when he was playing at Alabama. And now he's going to be in the NFL. He's going to have a lot more miles on his legs than a lot of the other guys on this list. And I think that'll help carry him over. But yeah, if he just gets the opportunity to shine out in Vegas, if Derek Carr can stretch the field and Henry Ruggs can pull a safety back and back guys off from stacking the box on Josh Jacobs, I think he's comfortably in the top 10. And I think he's got room to move up. At 8, I got Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is one of those guys, really good runner receiver type of back. I think Aaron Rodgers probably makes him better than what he actually is, but he is an elite touchdown scorer, and that's the most important thing that you can do as a skill position football player is by punching it into the end zone on a regular basis, and Aaron Jones does that as good as any running back in the league. At number 7, I have Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley's talent is obviously meant to be a lot higher on this list that I have in place, but the dude has been mostly injured for the last 2 years. So it's really hard for me to continue to keep Saquon Barkley, just not move Saquon Barkley when we haven't seen him have a real full consistent season since he was a rookie. So I like. Don't get me wrong, Saquon Barkley is definitely the top 3 talented running back. But right now, we got to see him come off this injury. He just came off a pup today, but I also heard a report that he might not be ready till week 3. Isaiah could probably give us more info on that.
I forgot that we have a Thursday night football game in the second week of the season. So the time between the first game and second game, I think he'll be back for their second game because I'm planning to go watch that. So I'm going to be banking on that. I think they'll set him out week 1, and then he'll play that Thursday night game and get the 10 days before he has to play his second game. But yeah.
But I'm not going to say come off a torn ACL. We just got to see how Saquon bounces back. He's got the athletic makeup to bounce back like Adrian Peterson and be an MVP after he tears his ACL, but I still got to see him come out and do it first. And at number 6, I got Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke had a major drop-off last year in terms of his overall production. I think the quarterback injury in the offensive line had a lot to do with that. But when you're getting paid $100 million, I think it's your job to overcome those types of things. He's easily the best pass blocking running back in the league, in my opinion. I don't think anybody's better at taking on guys. He's blocked Aaron Donald, he's blocked Jamal Adams, and he does a great job 99% of the time at protecting the quarterback. And if the offensive line's healthy and he's healthy, because don't forget Zeke did have to deal with COVID last year, and he dealt with his first real injury issues in his career, probably from getting way too many touches early on. But I expect to have a much better Zeke this year. But obviously, I think his days of being the best or one of the 2 or 3 best are over. So yeah, that's my 10 through 6.
Isaiah, what do you think?
Well, clearly we had Joe Mixon and Ezekiel Elliott. 2 people with big question marks. Joe Mixon has never showed the ability to stay healthy. Zeke's look like he's going the other way. And Aaron Jones, and we both agree that Aaron Jones is a little overrated because he plays in a great system when one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He does his job well, so we'll give him props for that though, because he still had that ridiculous run against the Eagles where he made 7 defenders miss, including maybe one defender a couple times. So I'll give him kudos for that. He's a good player still. He had Josh Jacobs, who I had as an honorable mention. I don't know about Josh Jacobs. I think he's a guy that plays in a run-first offense with a fullback, so he plays in a very old-school traditional offense, and that might be inflating his.
Helps him.
I mean, I would like to see more effectiveness behind a good offensive line that he had in that type of offense. And don't get me wrong, he's good at punching it in. Really good red zone back. I don't know how good. I think his catching is a little overrated. Coming out, I thought he was a Fred Jackson. That's a throwback player type of running back. But I don't know if it's the scheme that hasn't taken advantage of that, maybe. But I thought in a West Coast scheme that Gruden runs, that he'd be more effective passing wise. But excuse me again. Who else who did you have at
the only difference is gonna have is I had Saquon at 7.
And you had I'm still gonna bank on Saquon's talent. He's high on my list. Call it homerism, but
Shocker.
He's high on my list. What can I say?
Once he said Saquon at 7, I was like, oh, he's low key trolling, but he low key right.
I wasn't trolling at all.
No, I mean,
I agree.
Like I said,
the injuries. I agree. He hasn't shown the best ability is availability.
But like I said, like Dalvin Cook towards ACL, he missed a couple of seasons in the middle of his career when he started off. Nick Chubb, who's going to be on both our lists later, he's torn an ACL. Like half this list of guys that have torn an ACL, so like it's the rite of passage, like a picture with Tommy John. So I mean,
C-Mac.
anything specific that you want to talk about in that first?
Hey, Eric, what you think about my top 5, Eric? My bottom 5, I guess.
I mean, I think the way I see the names falling for you, I think Moody, I'll favor your list over Isaiah's. Because I was surprised to hear Kamara and Isaiah's. But yeah, I agree with you with Saquon to a good amount because you haven't seen the ability to do it on a consistent basis, just to be out there on the field. And also, he's just a home run hitter. It's going to be 3 explosive plays a game. And then
has he been playing behind one of the worst offensive lines in the league?
A line that hasn't gotten any better.
Actually, I'd say last year it got better because Wayne Gallman looked great behind that line. But unfortunately,
I remember the last time we saw Saquon for a full 60 minutes, it was 15
negative 6 yards. The line was getting, that was coming off COVID with 3 rookies in it. So like that had no chance. But as it got better, that like we have a really good run blocking line, and I think that will do wonders for him this year. And I'm gonna bank on that when I rank him as high as I will rank him in this list. And as for Kamara, I would say the opposite. Things have changed for him. No more Drew Brees to make him as effective as he's been. I think he'll be somewhat exposed as a limited player, and especially if Michael Thomas is going to miss some games, and he's going to have to be the number 1 weapon out there, like Saquon Barkley was his rookie year. Now we're going to get to see, like Ezekiel Elliott was his rookie year. We're going to get to see how good Alvin Kamara really is when everybody's got eyes on him, and he's the number 1 guy they're going to be looking to stop. And I'm going to bank that he's been a little bit bonused up like Aaron Jones because of the system and quarterback he was playing with. But I guess I'll move on to my 5 through 1. At 5, I have the guy that I'm extremely bullish on. I've got Jonathan Taylor at number 5. I think when Moody had him as honorable mention, so he mentioned him earlier, but I think Jonathan Taylor is also a Saquon Barkley clone. This is a guy who's 6 foot, 230, 240, runs
He's
a
big and fast, that's for
4.4.
sure.
He showed some catching ability that I question because I did have Clyde Edwards-Helaire as a better, higher rank coming out. But Taylor was my number 2. But the things he showed me, now he plays behind the good offensive line and he's elite running behind Quentin Nelson, but who isn't? But he split time with the other running backs they had. I believe one of them is Marlon Mack
and Nyheim Hines.
So he was splitting the work 3 ways, but he still finished with 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns and 5 yards per carry and had a big 200. He had 250 in a closeout game against Jacksonville that they kind of needed for playoff positioning. I think he picked it up really at the back end of the season. I'm really high on him. And I think this year when Indianapolis moves towards him carrying their offense with the Wentz injury, it sucks that he's missing Nelson, so I think that will hurt his fantasy value. But I'm sure he'll have a great season. He might only get to top the numbers he had his rookie year, but I'll take Jonathan Taylor in my 5. And number 4, I have one of the most efficient running backs in the league. I have Nick Chubb for the Cleveland Browns. I don't know how much he gives you catching and the other versatility stuff, even though he's a pretty good – he had that amazing, like, back shoulder catch against the Baltimore Ravens last year. Yeah.
Nick Chubb can catch.
He can catch. He could catch. He could catch. He could catch. I've seen him do it. I don't know how high is he a high volume catcher. I think he's a guy that makes plays. He's a playmaker. But his best thing, he's probably the best straight line in between the guards power runner in the power, like running high power. Nick Chubb probably does it better than anybody. Because I think Derrick Henry, who we're going to reveal later, he's better as a outside. He's killing in that outside zone where he gets to pick up a head of steam and does his thing. But I think Nick Chubb is the best in between the guards runner. But I will dig him. He has been playing with a really elite run blocking line. And it's even gotten, like, when he came in, it was good. And it's only gotten better since he's been going on. But, hey, kudos to the Browns for building up the line, building up the stable to keep him fresh. Had an ankle injury last year. But like I said, everybody on this list has suffered some type of injury. Like Zeke might be the most healthiest, and which might show why he's breaking down the most right now. And he has previous ACL injuries. So that's probably why he took a cheaper deal. Because Nick Chubb did re-sign this year, but elite player. I think his speed is underrated. When he gets downhill, he is gold. Next, we have at number 3, I have Christian McCaffrey, the best pass-catching running back in the league. Underrated running between the tackles. I still think a little overrated between the tackles. Had that elite 1,000 season. But I believe he was like the first running back to put that up on a losing team. So I question how much the usage from that season will hurt his future now that the team has gotten better. So, I mean, I think he's still the best. I think his future is to translate into a slot receiver. I think that's what Christian McCaffrey's future is in the NFL. But as for now, he's still always been a top 3 running back since he broke out a few years ago. At number 2, I got my guy with a big comeback season coming his way. I got Saquon Barkley. Touched by the hand of God. No one's got the speed, power, and elusiveness that this guy possesses. All we got to do is build that offensive line around him. But what more do we have to say about Saquon Barkley except he's the he's a generational running back, and we'll move on from there. Hopefully the injuries don't set him back, but it's an ACL. You know, guys are coming back from that. Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, guys are coming back from ACL injuries. And at number one, who else other than King Henry, 2,000 yards, can't catch for nothing. I mean, he's making this off of being able to run for 2,000 yards behind an offensive line that's overrated, really. When Taylor and Juan got out, he didn't look any worse. Now, I will bring up the fact that Moody always brings up he played the Houston Texans twice this year. That was one of the worst rushing defenses of all time. Played the Jacksonville Jaguars twice this year. Another terrible run defense. So, meh. But 2,000 yards, we'll give it up to him. Can't catch for anything. Pass protection is sketchy. And usually when he's in the game and they fall behind, you really can't get much out of him. But that's King Henry. He does his thing. And then
We're running
I guess
on time here, so I'll just go ahead and sweep through my top 5 real quick, and then we can discuss at the end. At number 5, I had Christian McCaffrey. I've always thought Christian McCaffrey was a little bit overrated. I think he's a usage monster who gets put in the position to put up gigantic numbers. But at the end of the day, I don't see him as more talented as the guys above him on the list. And now he's shown me a year of injury. I gotta see him bounce to show me that he could be
ever.
Not wrong with Eric, but he plays running back. The first ones usually means it's time. Like that's usually what that means.
Durable running back.
What'd you say?
He's been the most durable running back in the league.
But then he missed most of the
true.
season. And then last year he had 2 injuries. He came back from an injury and then got hurt another
Minor.
injury.
Like
So
one of them wasn't big. Like
All right, moving on.
let's go.
At number 4, I had Alvin Kamara. I think Alvin Kamara is the most elusive back in the league as far as like making you just not be able to touch him in the open field. I think he's good at running between the tackles. It's not something he should be doing on a regular basis, which he might now have to do because of all the injuries and retirements and stuff that New Orleans is dealing with. But like this is a guy who scored 6 touchdowns in one game. Alvin Kamara is extremely dynamic. He can
4 of
make it
those
happen.
were on the goal line, man. They fell into
So,
the end zone
so
4.
being able to run on the goal line is a skill that a running back needs to have. So
His
I'm gonna
offensive
give him
line's
credit for that.
dominant, and they punched him. They got him 4 gimmies, but yeah, he had 2 other big ones.
But Kamara he's a stud when it comes to making. He's a guy who gets more out of the play than a lot of other guys that he's at a similar position. At number 3, I got Dalvin Cook. I agree with Isaiah. I think he's got no weaknesses when it comes to his ability as a running back. I think he's sound at every single thing. I think he's one of the best in terms of like ball carrier vision. I don't think anybody can see the hole and accelerate through it better than Dalvin Cook can. The fact that he didn't even have a great combine when it came to his numbers and the injury that followed right after, he still looks just as good as he did at Florida State. I like Dalvin Cook a lot. Nick Chubb, at number 2, I think Nick Chubb is probably the best he's the best runner of the football in the NFL. Like you put the ball in his hands, nobody can run over, through, or around guys better than Nick Chubb can. Obviously, his offensive line is elite, so his yards before contact is as good as anybody's, but he's also just as elite at getting yards after contact. And it makes him such a stud. Kareem Hunt's presence is the only reason he's not putting up the numbers that Alvin Kamara, that Dalvin Cook, that King Henry have managed to put up over the last couple of years. He's, like you said, the most efficient running back in the league. And at number 1, there's no debating here. It's King Henry. Even though King Henry probably doesn't do all the things as a running back as well as every other running back that made this list, the man just ran for 2,000 yards. He carried an offense on his back for 16 games. They pounded him into the dirt, which is why he probably won't be number 1 on this list next year, in my opinion. But for right now, King Henry has to get his flowers. He was an unstoppable force this year, right up until the NFL playoffs. Got to give Eric Henry a lot of credit. He's the man.
Isaiah, I mainly have an issue with your list. You have Saquon way, way, way too high. 2?
2. You heard it here first.
Oh, bro. No. I knew Derrick Henry was going to be number 1. Like, I didn't have an issue with that. I think C-Mac is a clear number 2 running back in the league. I mean, he came back. Like, he wasn't out that long for that shoulder. I mean, the ankle.
He played 2 games last year. That's a wash.
We're losing. Yeah, we're losing.
I mean, he was higher on my list than he was on Moody's list.
I agree.
But
But I agree more overall with Moody's list than yours, I would say.
So what you like more about my list?
I like Kamara higher on your list. I think Aaron Jones should be a little bit higher than 10 for what he did with my fantasy team last year.
Don't fall in love with his
Don't
fantasy
put respect
production.
on
Fall
that.
in love with what
Running
he's
back's
at.
the one position where fantasy numbers can help you with your rankings
Yeah.
versus other positions.
But I think I like my running backs a little versatile, man. I like them to be able to do a little bit of everything. Obviously,
like Saquon Barkley, who's a better versatile, is the most versatile running back in the league. If we're being real.
He's also terrible in pass protection.
Most of them are. Half of this list is guys that can't pass protect, but we'll continue with that.
But yeah, so I think Christian McCaffrey's the 2. I think So where was Dalvin Cook for you, Moody?
3.
3.
I had him at
agree.
6.
I agree with that. I think he's like a top 4 guy. So I think those are my primary takes.
My only knock on Dalvin Cook is I know his raw athleticism really isn't what it looks like on film. But in film, hey, he gets through with it. So I dinged him for not being that.
He'll probably wear down the quickest of these guys just because of his previous injury history and his overall just size metrics. But yeah, Dalvin Cook he just gets it done. It's just one of those things where he just gets it done. But all right, let's just go ahead and close it out.
But yeah, lastly, I mean, I'm gonna stand by Saquon. Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook. We all agree on King Henry. Anybody who do you have project will be the highest riser in the next year?
J.K. Dobbins from Baltimore.
Yeah, I can see J.K. Definitely. We'll get more carries for sure.
I'm gonna rock with Travis Etienne in Jacksonville. I'm gonna give a sneaky one.
Yeah, I'll go
to
probably
Trey Sermon in San Francisco.
He's in the best scheme, definitely.
Well, all right, boys. That's it for this run. Good job. Running backs done.